All right, in this video, I want to talk about some of the best practices with Hibernate. Now, we did not implement any type of equal hash code function, and that could cause us a problem here, in theory at least. And there's a couple nuances to this, and right now we're just using the underlying object equality in hash code, and that might not be what we want to use. And there's two schools of thought on this. One is we can go ahead and work with the ID value. So the ID value that is going to get generated at time of persistence. And that is one way to do it. The downside here is on line 14 there, you can see that we're using a generation type of auto. So this ID value is going to get changed when the object is persisted for the first time. It'll go from null to having a value. And this could cause problems within a set. But Hibernate does recommend, if we are working with sets, which we are, to implement these values. And the preferred is to use a unique business key. And in this case, we don't have a unique business key. In theory, like on author, we could say first name, last name, but there could be two different authors with the same name. So we don't have a unique key to work with. So what we can do is use the ID value. We're going to come in and right-click in IntelliJ, do a right click and say generate, and we can say equals in hash code. And let's go ahead and do next here. And I'm just going to use the ID value of the JPA entity, and we'll say next and do that. And now we have this implemented here, and that gives us the implementation of hash code and equals. And one other thing that we can do is come down here and also say generate. And this is more for aesthetics. You can also say generate and do a toString method. And IntelliJ has a nice method here, and this will give us a pretty output on the toString. So this is something that we want to do as far as working with the sets. I'm going to do the same thing on book. And we're just going to do the ID value as well on the book because we don't have a good key to go off of. Title, we could have more than one book with that same title. Isbin, in theory, should be unique. In practice, I've been in logistics. It should be unique, but can't always count on that being unique. So we don't have, we don't have a valid, always going to be unique business key that we can use. So we're going to use ID value. I'm just going to go through and take the defaults on this so we can see. We could argue about the perfect implementation of the equals method, and this is going to vary based on your business case. So you're going to have to apply some Java Programming 101. Think about this. There are some pitfalls of this, but this does give us a basic implementation. And I'm also going to implement the toString method, so we have some pretty output here. So the biggest thing here is to remember is that we are working with sets here. So Java 101 stuff, what set is going to be using these methods to determine if that object is duplicated inside that set. So now, before we were using the default object, so what that is object ID, now we actually have an implementation of that. So, and we are looking at just the ID value here. So when we have two objects with the same ID, they will be considered equal. Now, if they have different IDs, they will be considered different. And that's kind of the behavior that we want to see going forward in the course in this particular use case.